do you define creativity?
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
But I always like to start by asking my guests, like, how would you introduce yourself to me if you just met me or, someone on the street?
Oh man, I'm Adrian Castro. I'm just a kid from Miami that loves cafecito and hanging out a la ventanita, talking to los viejos ahí, picking up their wisdom.
I mean, yeah, I think just looking at your Instagram, that's very accurate for sure.
I mean, I'd like to eventually get to being able to introduce myself as like the local Renaissance man of Miami that can just do anything and everything, but I'm not there yet.
That's interesting. When you say Renaissance man, like what would be those things that you would like to like encapsulate Adrian?
Man, I just feel like I've been involved with so many different like ventures and projects, and I have like this passion to try to just like learn everything, right? And try to pretty much encapsulate the culture in anything in any like way possible. So like whether it was like, yeah, being in the corporate field is how I first started, and doing HR for 10 years, and then being in hospitality and running a craft beer bar, and then starting my own food pop-up, and then now being a professional wrestler, then having done my own like short film, and then picking up photography, like a bunch of different things I've like picked up on. So I feel like, yeah, if I could just be considered like a jack of all trades, like the Miami Renaissance man, like, yeah, it'd be an honor to be considered that, you know?
Damn, that's super dope. I didn't know all those other things that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Like I consider myself a Renaissance man as well. Like I always like to use that term. Like before it was cool.
Yeah.
But that's dope. Like how did you what was like that first spark of like creativity that you kind of wanted to, you knew that maybe there was something else you wanted to do besides being in corporate? Or?
Man, I think it all started happening once I was deep into like the corporate field. So I went to FIU, Miami-Dade College, graduated with my degree in HR management, was in HR, had a nice high-level position with Miami-Dade College as their senior employment specialist. And then I love it. Like, I don't regret or resent any of that part of my life, but I just started feeling that I wasn't, my soul, like me, my essence of who I am as an individual, I started to get to know myself and who I was, and it didn't really align with that lifestyle, right? Like I felt like I was incarcerated. Like my soul was like incarcerated. Like I was like locked in there. But again, I have no negative feelings about that. I just knew that that wasn't for me. And I think I started picking up different traits as far as creativity goes, like whether it was picking up a camera and roaming the streets or writing. I started writing. I keep a journal with me and always write and try to attach a writing or a feeling that I would write, an emotion, with a picture. So I'd just go out on the street with my camera and, shoot street photography or whatnot. And then this is while I was still in the corporate field. And then I started an account called B Culture because I wanted to show people that Miami was, and this is over a decade ago. Right. I wanted to show people that Miami is more than just South Beach and neon lights and Ocean Drive, that there was more to Miami. So yeah, to answer your question, sorry, I'm Cuban, so I'm long-winded. I say once I was deep into my career, in the corporate world, that's when I started like really tapping into like getting to know. I mean, I'm still getting to know who I am. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I really started really knowing who I am. But at that time, I was still discovering myself. So I think that's for sure when I was deep into the corporate field that I was like, oh, this isn't aligning with what my spirit, like my soul wants to align itself with, which is why I started experimenting on all those with photography and that blog, Instagram account. And yeah, and then just following that led to so many different opportunities that you may know me now.
Yeah. But how old were you when that switch happened? Already deep into the corporate
like
world.
26.
Wow.
Like probably like 26 or so.
That's relatively young.
Yeah.
Especially
maybe
when
24,
you're like,
26. Yeah. So over a decade ago.
Yeah. Because especially when you're like having that career trajectory, you're like, you're only 25. You stick 5 more years, 10 more years.
Yeah.
Who knows where
you climb up the corporate ladder. Yeah. And the thing is, I've always been and I credit this to my brother, right? My older brother. Like I would just watch from a distance and the things he was reading or whatnot. And he was very always like into philosophy and reading spiritual books. But I always had in the back of my mind, like, I didn't want to conform to like social norms, right? Like, and there's nothing wrong with it, like at all. Like, but we're conditioned as a society to especially in the Hispanic community, right? Like our parents struggled so much to provide for us, so it's even instilled in us even more.
Yeah.
But the go to college, get a degree, work a corporate job, buy a house, get married, have kids, and then do that for the rest of your existence. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle at all. But I knew me that's not like, that wasn't fulfilling to my soul, like at all. Like, and why? Why conform? Who placed that rule in society? Like,
Right.
is that a law that we have to live by? No. Like, it's funny because now I'm thinking, my mom to this day, again, our Cuban mothers or Hispanic mothers, and no deje trabajo ese, don't leave that job, it's so safe.
Yeah.
But I remember when I left, ended up leaving the corporate field to go into helping a friend opening a craft beer bar in Little Havana. She was like, mijo, you're going to leave the 401k, lo beneficio, this high level position. You're moving up the ladder. You're young. And you're going to leave that to help run a bar? And I remember telling her like, yeah. Yeah. And I always, and I still ask her to this day, or I tell her, I'm like, would you have, I challenge her with a question.
Right.
I was like, would you rather your son be safe and secure financially, but unhappy, or run a risk, not knowing what's going to come, but be extremely happy about what he's pursuing and laying it all out? And she's like, I can do that. How do you respond to that, right? Yeah.
After the fact.
So yeah, but no, again, to answer the question pretty much, yeah, I feel like that was when it all like started clicking for me, where I just knew I had to tap into like this creativity, right?
Yeah.
And it was all for the purpose of like nurturing like my soul, like my spirit.
No, 100%. It's so funny. Like we talk about it now, and even then, like, like you said, it takes always like constant work to like, because we all go through that. Like, damn, should I be maybe doing something a little more traditional or whatever? But now I'm like so at peace with like, bro, like you said, it's like every day I wake up and it's like, all right, what can I do today? There's an unknown, but now I know where I'm headed, and what I'm pursuing is like,
you're living by your own rule book,
right? But back then it's like, even
you're following the rule book,
especially with a Hispanic family. It's like, bro, it's hard to like, they don't understand that. And like, I understand now. I have my 2-year-old daughter. Yeah. Like I don't want her to take those risks. Yeah, of course. But I feel like now I'm a little more equipped to be like, but if you have a dream, like maybe your dream is corporate America, like in some weird way, but if you have any sort of dream, like for sure, because like you said, you're going to be more happy in the long run. And I think when you're in your 20s, you do kind of got to chase the money and like,
of course,
have those experiences that like kind of build you to your 30s, where
you can start experimenting.
Which sounds counterintuitive.
It does.
Like you should probably experiment when you're 18, but because you have so much time to fuck up. But yeah, like it's so funny when you think about like being young. And I remember telling my parents, like I moved to Vegas for DJing, and like my mom just didn't understand how.
Of course,
like she already couldn't understand me DJing here.
Yeah.
But going to Vegas, 2,000 miles away,
yeah,
like that sounds. And imagine, I'm saying Las Vegas,
yeah,
Sin City.
Mijo, tú vas a estar tomando, vas a estar las drogas y esto.
But something just told me like, yo, I gotta go figure out if that's what I want to do. But like, so going back to like switching from corporate America and then pursuing these things, like, how was that like? That initial mindset shift of like, all right, now did you immediately cut off the corporate America job, or are you?
So I actually did both full time for about 8 months. Until then I became a lot more involved, and the bar was doing well. And then I was like, all right, I think this is the time to completely detach and let go and shift over. And yeah, I remember, I think about it now. Back then I wasn't, because I wasn't as enlightened, I guess, back then or whatnot, or not that I'm enlightened now, but I've like, I've grown in the last 10 years, 12 years, I think, looking back now, it's getting yourself out of that comfort zone, right? Like we see it now, and I understand it now, is that getting out of your comfort zone is what provides like growth. We have to get ourselves out of our comfort zone so we can grow. I didn't know that at the time, that's what I was doing it for. Look, I need to take a risk to grow. No, I was just pursuing my intuition and wanting to, do what my soul was like calling for, my spirit. And it was to be creative and pursue these things that I was passionate about. And it's funny because, like, yeah, I was passionate about craft beer, and I still am. It's an industry that I loved. I've been involved with craft beer since 2010. But not that I'm not passionate about craft beer, but I always make that comparison of I pursued something I was passionate about. Yes, I was passionate about craft beer, but what I was really pursuing was the passion to like create and have a direct impact on it being my canvas. And Union ended up being my, thanks to David and Cece, like they let that be my canvas. And whether it was incorporating the wrestling on the TVs or setting the vibe, like that was my canvas to put my personality, my soul, my spirit, and things that I think that people can connect to. So it was my canvas. And I realize that now, but back then I thought that beer was my passion. But what was really my passion was the ability to be able to create. And I see it now so much. Like I am at my happiest when I am like putting pieces of myself onto other canvases. And that's when I just realized that within the last like few months when I was like, damn, this feeling, like I really just do enjoy like coming here today, being able to discuss or the project we're doing with Cafecito Chats or whatever. Like I feel like this surge of energy and I'm like, damn, I think this is what I really do enjoy is the act of like creating things and putting my pieces of myself onto other things. And then there's so many things like hoping that somebody can connect to it or and it inspires somebody through like our art, you know? But yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Like going into Union was, I just did it for 8 months. I was like, all right, I think it's time. Like,
dude, I love that so much. Like I think we all relate to that here where I have like a similar mindset of like I used to think my canvas was like DJing and I was super passionate in the beginning. Of course, like I eat, sleep, breathe DJing. Like that's all I wanted to do. But then I got older and I started realizing that the passion wasn't the chase of DJing. It was like able to create something, whether it was a live show that I was actually DJing, whether it was the marketing materials, whether it was how I'm presenting myself as a brand. Like I started to like dive deep more and more. And it's funny because I've been thinking about that lately where you said canvas and like that's like the perfect analogy. But I was thinking like it's like a vehicle. Like before DJing was my vehicle to like do all these things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And you were saying like the craft beer was the vehicle and then now it's like wrestling is the vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's super dope because like when I start thinking like that, it's like you're almost like I could do whatever.
You can do whatever.
It's like
you have the vision. You know what image or what. Okay, to keep on the canvas analogy or term, right? You know the image you're trying to paint.
Exactly.
Right. So then you're gonna connect to whatever canvas you may have, and you know your message that you want to portray, the image you're trying to paint. You know how to present it with whatever canvas you have. And I'm sure you feel that way, whether it's music or your graphic designing or whatnot. Like, yeah, you know what stylistically, what image you want to like give off or portray, you know? And
the cool thing is that like, especially now with the internet and social media, it's like we can, before it was like almost a little bit like you're putting all your eggs in one basket, but like primarily, you know, DJing was like my bread and butter. So
of course, it's your go-to.
The DJing was like what everyone saw, especially out and this and that. But now it's like, you could build a vehicle in anything. Like your canvas can be craft beer, wrestling, DJing, and then you could use that to pivot into anything.
Of course.
So that's what's cool. It's like you're building a brand like Domino, but who's to say in 10 years you don't open like a Domino tournament, a Domino bar, a Domino.
Of course, so many things can come from it.
Like you're building a community. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately where it's like, it doesn't matter what the canvas or the vehicle is, like just being able to like put my focus into something and like create.
Of course.
That's like the fun part.
Of course.
So we were talking about wrestling a little bit. Like, how did you even like get into that? Like, because that blows my mind. Because sometimes I forget, like, it's not just WWE and you know AEW and like there's like a whole world. That lives.
Like the music scene. You know, you have your local artist, your independent artist, and your local music scene. It's the same thing. We have our local wrestling scene. I'm fortunate enough that I'm with CCW, thanks to Nelio, Gangrel, and Dan, that they took me along, and we're considered outside of WWE. We put on the most shows in the entire world. Like there's weekends that I've wrestled 4 times in 3 days. You know, like we are putting more shows, running more shows than any company, and yeah, like the way it all happened, like to this day, like I don't think it's crazy because I helped run a Union Beer Store, which is a wrestling themed bar, and we were using wrestling vibes and energy going to other breweries, and with the personality that ended up becoming. The personality at Union was Manolo, which transformed to Panolo when I started my food brand, and then has now transformed it to Domino, but it was all the same person with a different canvas. Manolo was the beer slinger, Panolo was the Pango Vite slinger, and then Domino is el que de pinga todo mundo. But it's all the same. Like, it's crazy. It's all the same person. But going back to, like, Union, we're doing all these things. I would have never thought that Manolo was technically a wrestling character,
Yeah.
going to all these events with the megaphone. I never thought it would transform to actually being a wrestler in Domino, and where I have my own brand and my own logo, my own entrance music, and putting on a show or wrestling with a WWE legend like Gangrel, or learning from him since he's my coach. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy how it even sometimes doesn't even hit me that I'm just very focused on, and it's part of like the creativity. I've learned to just be very present with everything. So I just like, it could be a negative thing because sometimes I don't like sit back and enjoy it. I'm just like, all right, what's next? How do we like accomplish this task? And I'm just in the present enjoying it. But yeah, like it doesn't hit me. I think it probably hit me the day after I won the championship because I slept with it next to me on my bed on my pillowcase. But then it was palata after that. But yeah, it's crazy how it's all come along, and it all happened organically too. Like they took, knowing that I was the beer guy, whatever, Unbranded hit me up, and they're like, "Yo, like we know Union is like the wrestling spot," which was cool because I feel like at Union too, we were making wrestling acceptable back at that time, and we opened 2017. And wrestling was still, at that time, it was still like, you would feel embarrassed or like ashamed, like admitting, but I feel like we made it cool at Union because we started seeing wrestling things pop up, and other breweries doing wrestling things. And Unbranded hit us up and they're like, yo, we're going to start featuring some wrestling here. Is that okay with you guys? Or like, we're going to do it. And we're like, dude, like we don't own the rights to like wrestling at all. Like you guys do it, Yeah. We tried doing it. It got shut down. But yeah, they started doing that. Like, look, at least come along, and on behalf of Unbranded, we have like a little spot in the show that they let us pass out Unbranded beer. Beer sponsored by Unbranded, whatever. So like represent Unbranded, come with us. So I did that a handful of times. Got in the ring and I was like, oh wow, damn, this feels fucking wild. Like I've always wanted to be a wrestler, and I'm here sitting in the ring. But I never thought of being a wrestler. I just was soaking in that moment of being in the ring and just letting Panolo, whatever personality I estaba, like enjoy that moment and passing out the beer, whatever. Cool. It happened a few times. And then at a beer festival, Panolo was selling pango bites at the beer festival. So then Panolo was involved now. They're like, yo, you pass out beer. I pass out beer. That's when I got suplexed for the first time. Somebody came behind me and suplexed me.
You knew, or?
Kind of. I knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know what to expect. But I knew something was going to happen. And I got slammed, picked up. Bam, my inhaler went flying out of my apron. Yeah. And then I remember going to the back. I remember then going back to selling pango bites. And usually, again, it's the loud character, right? Hey, pango bites, se te enfria, hey, buy food here. I remember just being on the flat top, just cooking steaks and being quiet. Just being quiet. And I remember I had my Cuban colored pit vipers on. And I remember tearing up. And be like, damn. Like that was the first time getting physical in the ring. I was like, damn, like this is dope. Like I need to, like, I'm not getting any younger. I'm like, let me just try it. And the owner was there. He came for a pango bite. I was like, yo, I'm gonna, and it helped that it was already the end of December. So New Year's resolution, right? I had just started the gym, never touched a gym in my life. At that time I had started, so April's gonna be 3 years or 4 years.
You never worked out?
I never worked out in my life.
Before starting rest?
Yeah, never.
What the
Never.
fuck?
So the longest I'd ever been.
Sorry, that sounded like what the fuck?
The longest I've ever been in a gym was 3 months. Like in my whole life, I didn't pick up a gym.
You didn't play sports?
I did. I played basketball all of middle school. Tried out in high school. I've played in many recreational leagues, flag football leagues as well. Basketball was my first love. Like, yeah, I was always out and like, playing basketball.
But you never followed like a training?
No, I never. No. Right, so I just picked this up recently, and then I had started the gym for like about a year or a few months. It was the New Year's resolution. I was on this whole like new, I don't know how you want to use the right word, not epiphany, but I was on this journey, right? Since 2022 is what I call like my wake up moment, where I started saying no to a lot of things, people, opportunities, started being selfish with my energy, wasn't just saying yes to agree to things. I was focusing on myself and being selfish again with my energy. Our energy is very sacred, and it's very easy to just say yes to things and no quiere quedar mal with somebody, un compromiso. But hey, if it's not aligning, if I'm not in the position mentally to be able to compartir or go somewhere, then I'm not going to put myself through it, because then that just leads to more anxiety, stress, you know what I mean? So once I was on that path, going back to getting out of my comfort zone, I was on that path of doing things to get myself out of my comfort zone and growing. I was like, January was right around the corner. I'm like, New Year's resolution, there it is. Continue to get myself out of my comfort zone. Let's keep this going. And I had been working out for like 8 months at the time. I was like, I'm in okay shape right now. I knew I was going to get in better shape. because I was already committed to that, talking about getting myself out of my comfort zone. And yeah, I remember telling Nelio, the owner, I was like, yo, I'm going to sign up and start January. He's all right, cool, come. And one whole year later, I won Rookie of the Year. And he remember when he presented the award, because I went to before I started training, I went because I wanted to show face. But like, yo, I'm going to sign up for the school. Right. They invited me to the Christmas party and award ceremony. I was like, I'll go. I saw Joe Garcia, who actually I'm wrestling this Saturday. He won Rookie of the Year before me.
Oh, shit.
And I remember seeing that and be like, I'm going to win this next year. Like, I'm going to win this next year. And I remember telling the owner that, and he was like, oh, yeah, cool. When he presented the award, I remember him telling everybody, he's like, when this guy signed up, I thought he was like, oh, in the beer scene, whatever. He already had his like life set up, or I thought he was going to quit within a few months because this shit isn't easy. Like I've seen many people in and out the door.
Sure.
But I remember him saying, yeah, this guy is not going to like last. Like he's not like, no. And then he presented me the award. He's like, but he proved me wrong. And yeah, one whole year later, I won the Rookie of the Year. And again, I'm Cuban, I'm long-winded. I forgot where we even started from, but here we are now with this belt. 2 years after, crazy, another year after.
And like you said, like I feel like recently, and maybe it's because it's coming back into my orbit, but wrestling is kind of like having not a resurgence because it's always been there, and but it's more popular. It's
more acceptable and more acceptable,
now. Right? And I feel like also it's because the generation of when we used to watch it, like I used to be balls deep in it when I was like 11, 12, 13, but then you kind of fizzle off.
Fizzles out, yeah.
You get older, whatever. But I feel like now there's like the millennials are like coming back around, and now they're trying to introduce it to their kids, and it's like.
Nostalgia sells, man. Nostalgia sells
everywhere.
And trends, you're starting to see all the trends going backwards, And yeah, I think it's acceptable now. It's cool. It's like cool now to like wrestling. I don't think people are ashamed of saying they're like wrestling fans or whatnot anymore.
But what I was gonna say is like, but I mean, trying anything new, especially creatively, or when you're coming from a different career is tough. Yeah. But starting like wrestle, like I'm sure like your friends or family were kind of like looking at you sideways, like
extremely intimidating going into it.
And you hadn't had any prior experience.
No, absolutely not. And yeah, everybody looks at you a certain way. But again, I had started developing into that mindset of like, yo, I'm taking myself out of my comfort zone. I'm living for myself. I'm not people pleasing anymore. Like this is the time to take control of my own life, do whatever I want to do. And it's crazy because then being involved with other things like mental health advocacy and doing events in the community, once I started spreading my wings in that direction, I started seeing like, damn, I have an impact with the platform that I created myself, even outside of wrestling with Union at first and the Panolos thing. I created a little like following for myself. So seeing that, and then being a wrestler, I was like, oh, damn, like I can actually make an impact and inspire people like with my story. You know what I mean? Like, again, like, yeah, when I started being a wrestler, like people probably were like, oh, este tipo está loco. But in my mind, I was hoping that instead of people thinking that, I was hoping that people were thinking like, damn, this motherfucker really does anything he wants and can accomplish it. So like, why can't I? Like, and again, it's whether leaving your corporate job and running the risk and running a bar and standing behind the bar and working those late hours, starting a food brand when I had no culinary experience at all. Like I always say, like yo aprendí a freír unos huevos for the first time 6 months before I started the Panolos brand. I had help that helped me and it was great, but I had no experience and I did it. Intimidating, of course, but again, it goes with the theme that I've been saying, which is take the risk, take yourself out of your comfort zone, and then going on to becoming a professional wrestler. I had no experience doing this, but hey, just do it. So yeah, there's always the thought of, or your family or people like, yo, should you be doing that, especially at this age? That's always going to be there. But my thought is always like, I try to look at the silver lining, right? Or the positive aspect of it. And yo, hopefully instead of somebody thinking like that, maybe there's somebody that actually looks at me and is like, damn, like I said before, like this guy is actually like, there's an inspiration, there's a story there. And hopefully, and again, you never know who you can impact, and who knows if I inspire somebody that ends up becoming the one to change the world or lo que sea. And it's a quote that I get from Tupac. Tupac always said, he's not going to change the world, but he guarantees that he will spark the one brain of the individual that will be the one to change the world. And I just I hope that I'm that one spark that he talked about, to try to create some sort of change or inspire others. Like, again, there's power. We all have so much power that we can use our platform.
100%. Sometimes I think maybe we like minimize that power because we think like, oh, we're just doing this, we're doing that. But like, I mean, for sure, like you're inspiring to me because like, you're doing something that like even to me where you know, I've taken risk. I've done my own thing, but I'm like, damn, this guy's trying wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, what am I? Why do I have to be scared of trying some shit like a podcast or this or that?
Just do it. Just do it.
Literally.
Just do it. Just try it. Just try it. Yeah. Just try it out. We're not sponsored by Nike. Don't worry. But just do it. Yeah, man. And if you don't, it doesn't work out, you try something. For me, wrestling, if it would have not worked out, cool. Or I would have gotten hurt the first day, freak accident. Look, but yo, hey, I did it. I'm at peace. I'm not gonna live with, and it was the feeling that made me decide to try it out. I know that in the future, I'm not gonna live with that feeling like, coño, what would have happened if I would have tried out, man? You know? And I did feel that with high school, I wanted to try out for football. And that was the one of like my only regrets is like I never tried out. Or I tried out my freshman year for basketball and I never pursued it. Yeah. And that was one thing that would always eat me alive a lot when I was a lot younger. I was like, damn, why didn't I try out? Why didn't I try out? And that always like stuck in my head.
Yeah, you don't want that feeling.
I don't. I want to make sure that if there's something I want to try, just try it out. If it's not for me, it's not for me. It didn't work.
Nah,
cool.
And at the end of the day, like we said, even with social media and the internet, like you're still like going through this journey, this process. Like whatever that finish line looks like, you're still like it wasn't all por gusto. Like you're building something that whatever it might turn into something else down the line, or you realize your dream, you end up in the WWE, whatever that is. Yeah. But like you built something along the way that's priceless, really, and impact.
And it's funny because that's what I tell, like, again, the Cuban parents, right? Hispanic parents and my mom, and struggling to get to this country and working 2-3 jobs and taking care of raising me and my brother. Like, so she gets the struggle, right? She still tells me, like, coño, like you left, you know, Miami-Dade College. Even with Panolos, like I haven't been doing Panolos, the food brand, as much because I've been wrestling. Yeah. And I was doing well. So she's like, she always feels that, it comes from a good place. But then I tell her, like, hey, if I would have not left Miami-Dade College, none of this would have been possible. This platform I created for myself would have not been possible. Doing all these mental health events at different spots, you know, advocating for my brother because it hits home because my brother suffers through mental health issues. And I tell her that, I'm like, none of this would have been possible having this direct impact. And then she like, yeah, she thinks, you know what I mean? Ay, pero 401k.
401k. But it's crazy because like it doesn't make sense when you like say it on paper. But I always tell people like yeah, you can go to, and there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. Like some people are super happy with it. But once you do something on your own, you build your own thing, you're gonna work. Like what's the saying? Like it's like you quit your 9 to 5 to work 24/7. Yeah. And like now you have like a bunch of bosses and like you want to be your own boss, but now you almost answer like a bunch of people because you're the boss.
Yeah. And you know what you want from your product or lo que sea.
Right. So it's like you're gonna work twice as hard because it's your thing and because there's no guarantee. So like you have to like poner las pilas.
Yeah.
So
dale, tipo si sabe.
I know what I'm doing here. So yeah, like a 9 to 5, it's easy to like get complacent and like you can clock in, clock out. You don't got to worry about the building when you leave. Like you're just done. But when it's your baby, especially when it's from a creative aspect where like you got to worry about the business, but then you got to worry about like how does everything look? Like what message am I saying? Like this, that. So it's like
making sure it doesn't get stale or lo que sea.
So it takes up a lot of your brain. So like how are you even like outside of corporate America? Like how are you balancing like the running a bar and wrestling in the beginning? Because like that takes up a lot of creativity, a lot of bandwidth. Yeah,
and I'm involved with another project I can't discuss because we still haven't announced it yet, but involved with something else. So yeah, my time is consumed a lot, whether it's planning for Miami Beer Week, which I had to ponerme la pila and do that. That's coming up. Being involved in the head of that. Panolos and still trying to take gigs, making sure the brand doesn't die. And then wrestling has become a full-time thing for me pretty much. And then the new project starting. And yeah, it's definitely, there's been times where I've definitely thrown out the term or the phrase like burnt out, you know, like emotionally. But then I try to find like that balance, right? Work-life balance, I think, is always key. And then I will detach. I'll go with Cooper, my dog Cooper, the Juan pa' Key Biscayne. I'll sit on the hammock, lo que sea, and just try to recalibrate. But what keeps me going at the end of the day is the need, like the passion, the motivation there is to create. Yeah. You know what I mean? So then it's just finding the time and making sure that there's a balance there so that you don't burn out, you know? But it definitely takes a lot to go into planning and strategizing and marketing towards all these different like projects and making sure that your character is getting portrayed the way you want it to get portrayed, making sure that people are up to date with your next pop-up with Panolos, making sure that the bar is running. So yeah, it definitely takes a lot. It's definitely stressful.
And then you can't forget, like, you're also performing in the ring. Where
Yeah.
so that's like a whole thing in
And then
itself.
and then the gym, making sure your body's straight because it's
Yeah.
a visual product, you know. So then making sure your diet's fine, which it isn't because I eat a lot of Cuban bread and so yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm getting stressed out now. My ears are getting red.
My bad.
Se me está subiendo la presión.
But like you talk about mental health, like how do you kind of, make sure you're in the right space, especially, because I feel like, I used to go through this with DJing where when I was young, it was so automatic. It was like second nature. I was just DJing 3-4 times a week, like thousands of people in a room, like up till 5 a.m., like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, whatever.
Yeah.
You get a lot of energy, you get a lot of like interaction, and then it's like almost you drop.
Yeah.
And then you gotta like recalibrate during the week and
Absolutely.
then start back up. But when you get older, it's like
it's harder to recover.
Yeah, for sure. And I used to I could be anywhere and like, yo, I got a gig in 30 minutes, peace.
Yeah.
But when I got older and like, especially now, it's like, nah, I need to like
Chill. No,
I need like
get it.
3 hours before. I need to breathe. I need to make sure my
Yeah.
shit is right. I need to get there an hour before. Like, it's
Absolutely. No, yeah, absolutely. And I agree. Like I've made it a goal for myself where I need at least one day of the week where I don't do anything. I need a decompression day. I need it. If not, then I get worked up. And again, like you said, like showing up late brings anxiety. Like,
Yeah.
no, I need at least like one decompression day where I'm just like coasting and cruising. And not, it's usually my Sundays. My girl and I will just chill. She knows we'll chill. And or then una pizza, and decompression. And it's crazy because now, like as a performer, right? Like I feel like you said, you're getting pulled in so many directions, and then you're performing, and it's a rush. You do get a rush. So there's dopamine and like serotonin release, and then once the high and the show's over, like you have to build that. You depleted so much energy and serotonin, and then the day after you're recovering. Like it's kind of like a hangover. Like
Yeah, for sure.
You're drinking, you have to recover. You released all this dopamine and serotonin, and you drink. You had a great time, and then you're building back up. So for me, it's like I am aware of that. So I think the key is knowing that I'm aware of that and know that what I need to do to recover, And it goes to, again, like the whole mental health aspect where people, especially a lot of people that are more traditional, will kind of just label that as like, oh, like man up, or oh, don't be a bitch, or this or that. It's like, nah, man, but like we're in a different society now where we should be discussing our vulnerabilities or insecurities and like, yo, this is what I need. Like I've gotten to a place where I can be like, you know what? I am gonna be a bitch because I need this to be all right.
Yeah.
If not, I'm not gonna be able to perform.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I need my chill. Like if I know I'm not right, it's like going back to like the saying no. If I know something no está cuadrando, it's like I need to say no to this opportunity or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's happened with Panolos where a hell of an opportunity came to have a residency every Wednesday at a market. Would have been a hell of an opportunity, but I just knew it wasn't gonna align with me. I could have done it, but it wasn't gonna align with it being done properly, or it was in the middle of the week. It wasn't gonna. So I was like, let me not stress it out. I can't commit to everything. I gotta pick and choose what's right when what's aligned with not only everything I'm working on, but with like my mental. So yeah, I think going back, I need that one like decompression day, to recalibrate, like you said, to build up my social battery again. Because yeah, again, you're as a performer, you use there's a lot of energy that you're using, and I lately I've been comparing it to like it's the same as a hangover. I feel hungover after a show, and I don't drink anything, and it's the same feeling of a night out. I get the same hangover. So yeah, so it's giving myself the time to all right, you need to recover, heal, So I try to make sure that I keep that like in check.
No, and it's like super important because I get you. Sometimes people like to be like, oh, like, just sack up, like get through it. And I mean, I used to be like that too, but it's actually smarter in the long run. Like, yo, I need to chill because then like the work I'm gonna do or the
You're putting
performance,
out shitty product.
it's
or
not
shitty,
worth it.
Yeah.
And then I could say yes to these opportunities, or I could do this thing and I could get this money and it's gonna be good. But I know deep down inside, like, there's a reason I'm feeling some sort of way, and it's just not gonna translate. And then who knows? Like I might mess some shit up, or I might not deliver on what I said I was gonna deliver because I went in it like whatever.
Yeah.
So it is important to say no and like take a step back and like, all right, like
Recognize how you're feeling, where your head's at.
because it's just also like I tell people, it makes is practical business sense. Like, why are you gonna risk your product or risk performance or risk whatever just to power through, and then it comes out shitty, and then you might have lost on other opportunities down the line because
and
you
energy is
were.
everything. People could pick up on energy. So if you're putting out a product, that they're gonna feel your energy through the set. Let's say, for
Yeah.
example, if you're not there. So yeah, absolutely.
And what do you think? Like, because I did like it's funny now hearing you talk about like you didn't really work out before starting wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is more important in the ring? Like, is it the physicality or like the creative aspect or the character or like a little bit of everything? Or
Obviously, a little bit of everything. It's a visual product for sure. So you're making a first impression. But I think like what's undeniable is like you can't deny anybody that steps through that curtain and has just energy. You can pick that up. It doesn't matter how you look, but if somebody has an aura or some sort of energy and you have charisma, you can connect like with the crowd, with whatever creativity you have or whatever message you're trying to put out. Like I think that's extremely valuable. Again, extremely visual product, but man, you can't deny when somebody just comes through a room and somebody walks in and you're just like, hey, te digo quién es, you know, like. So I think in wrestling, like, having that ability to connect with the crowd or with that kid that's there or with whoever, you know, I think like that holds so much value.
nah, and it's crazy. I feel like now as an adult, I'm appreciating wrestling more because, like you said, it's such a visual art. But like besides the visual, it's the performance, it's the costume, it's the scripts, it's
It's a lot.
it's a lot. It's like what
And it's a live performance.
the branding,
And it's
like
all live.
your merch, like everything, and then it's
Yeah.
a live product, and then outside of it, like your interviews, like it's literally a whole 360, like live novela theater.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And it's funny because right now I'm like still strategizing. Like I did some photo shoot recently. So I have content that I want to put out there. But creatively, I'm in like a little funk because I want to strategize how I roll this out.
Right.
And especially where there's so much other projects that I'm rolling out, like the Cafecito chats rolling out. Like I don't want to also spam people, but I want to present it. So I have like all this like 305 like photo shoot because 305 days coming. But it needs to be presented. That's me. Like I need to make sure that it makes sense. Like everything I always do, I do with a certain like intention. Like if I'm posting something, there's a reason why I'm posting it. So like you said, yeah, I'm like strategizing all this content, like the merch. I'm doing a merch run, and for me, I'm just a very anal about it. Like I'm very particular, and it all needs to make sense for me, and that's how I am creatively with anything and everything. But that's currently like with the wrestling character, it's because my character Domino is like so it's me, you know, like the Mick Foley and I remember Chris Jericho, two legendary wrestlers. They've always said that the best wrestlers are the ones that end up just being themselves, but exaggerated to like the 10th degree, you know what I mean? And that's Domino's, it's just like, tú me encuentras una ventanita, and, oye, hola, whatever, it's me, you know? But like, I strategized on how I wanted to portray the character. So like, the style and presentation of the character so like every song I add to every post or every story, it's done with intent. Like, so the style and presentation, the colors, everything, takes of 80s cyberpunk, retro, Ocean Drive, neon, Miami Vice style. You know what I mean? Synthwave.
Yeah.
That's the style and presentation of the character. And then the attitude of the character is, oye, que voy a estar contigo, te voy a despingar, and whatever. The attitude is a cubaneo.
Yeah.
The attitude is a cubaneo, the roots, that's in my blood. That's when I get high, like that's lo que se me sale, you know, like to speak in Spanish. So that's the attitude of the character. And then the presentation and the style being, again, that Miami Vice, retro, synthwave, electronic.
Yeah, if you
Tron.
If you Google all those terms, that's literally what you
What
get.
comes out is the Miami, it's the grids, the fractal grids and the sun.
Yeah. I Googled that so many times for like backgrounds and like aesthetic. It's funny. That's literally it.
And it's great because I love that.
Yeah.
Like I'm so drawn to that. Like the music I listen to, like what I listen to the most is synthwave and dark wave and like all that retro stuff, the vaporwave and outrun, and that's what I listen to. Like that's the shit that I love and like connect to. So again, like the tights, I had them designed where it would look very like Tron like that's why the stripes are kind of like that, and it matches with the vest and the colors too. And it's funny because I'm actually like working on. I haven't said anything. Whatever. It's
fuck it.
Look, y'all heard it here first. So for May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I have green tights that were made. I've had them for like a month or two. I'm saving them. I'm not wearing them or bringing them out till May for Mental Health Awareness Month at that Bash of the Brew, because it's our biggest show and it's the first Saturday of the month. So it kicks off the month. But I also want to do green merch. I have the green towels. So my goal is to And the reason I share it, I guess, is just to like let you in, I guess, creatively, like how I'm
Yeah.
trying to like strategize all this. Because I've been going crazy this whole weekend on how I want to roll this all out. And is I want that whole place to be green. I want that whole place to be green. And with the green shirts or green towel or whatever green gear they have, like that's why I have like the green socks, the green shoes. Like I always try to,
Yeah.
like that's, again, everything I do with intent. There's a reason why I'm wearing these
Yeah.
green shoes and socks. It's because it represents mental health awareness. It's the same reason why my hair, I dye it neon green. So like my main intention creatively now is focused on, it's on the cafecito chats and everything, but my next project is to make sure that May, Mental Health Awareness Month, for that bash of the brew show, that like the heat, do the white hot heat.
Yeah.
I want that place all green. All green. So the tights are green. And then what sparked, I guess, this thought was because I was thinking about the vest, and I got some like LED lights.
Damn.
So that I'm gonna put. Damn, I shouldn't say it because it should be a surprise when people see it.
it's
But we'll
alright.
say it.
We'll say
Y'all
it.
heard it here first. So I'm putting the LED lights, neon green lights, like on the vest, and supposed to look like super like Tron like. And I just want that place to be all green. And then I started thinking like that's what we should be using like our platform for, right?
Yeah.
Like it's fun for me because it's a creative outlet for me, and I'm passionate about it. Like I said, about creating. But like, damn, if I can through this creative outlet, like who knows how viral that moment can be. Like, yo, a local wrestling community is putting on for mental health awareness, and if that blows up and a bunch of people see that, and it opens up the eyes of people, and then maybe people going back to my page and seeing mental health talks that I have it pinned up there. Which my main message that I'm always like trying to portray is be vulnerable. Like, dude, be vulnerable. Like, it's okay to be vulnerable. So again, with doing this, hoping that it can reach like the masses, and then being able to get that message that I have of be vulnerable, letting people know that it's okay. So like, again, I do it, like everything I do it like there's intention behind it creatively. There's always like some sort of creative intention for sure. So the next thing I'm trying to roll out is the whole green thing. And I got a glimpse of it because I had a match, my first like main event match. It was a street fight with Gangrel. Dude, my friend surprised me. One of my friends bought 60 neon green bandanas.
Wow.
I didn't know. So I make my entrance, and when I come through the curtain, dude, I see the whole front row, and even like some people in the other rows with green bandanas covering their fucking face.
I hyped you up.
And you'll make me, so I get chills. Like, I was like, damn, dude, like that is fucking dope. Like, that is all. And they passed una tarjetica with each bandana, and it said like, oh, we stand in solidarity with Domino. We don't condone these vicious attacks at my rivals at the time. So like, damn, like that's what wrestling is, like being able to get emotion from people.
Yeah.
And that was like with a street fight. If I can recreate that on a bigger scale, and it being similar, but it being directly for like, yo, we stand for mental health awareness, like that's the goal for me. You know,
that, bro. It's because you're very attention to detail, but everything you're doing is like for a bigger picture. So you have like an anchor that you're trying to, you want to spread the word and get this out there. And again, we're using wrestling as a vehicle or a canvas.
Yeah.
But you always have something bigger because I think that's super important, because it's like that way you're not thinking so short term.
Of course.
Like, let me just like make a viral video of Domino.
No.
It's like you have a bigger
there's no
purpose
behind it.
Right.
Exactly. There's no purpose. You're just doing things to see what hits. And it's like, no, like I know what my overall like goal is, and it's to have as big of a platform I possibly can to spread my message, whether it be, hey, leave your corporate job, and if there's something you want to chase, pursue it. Say no, be selfish with your energy, or the being vulnerable and advocating for mental health, right? And it being something that could like be discussed. Like, for example, this conversation right now about mental health, and I've talked about it with different people before. It's, dude, you couldn't do this 5 years ago. It would always kind of be like, I don't want to talk about that, or whatever. It's uncomfortable. So again, so I make it. I find the intent behind like, no, I want to discuss this because I want people to know, like, hey, it's okay. Dude, we all have something.
Oh, of course.
Todo tenemos algo. Like, we all deal with anxiety. I had anxiety coming over here. Like, coño, de qué vamos a hablar, and this and that.
Same, dude.
Like, damn, what do we talk about? But then, it goes deeper because obviously it hits home for me because of my brother.
Yeah.
So just being able to use that as like a vessel with my creativity to grow this as big as I possibly can, with the message being like, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. Like, dude, we're not superhuman, dude. Like, it's okay to shed a tear, like it's okay. I shed a tear when I accepted my award at the last and I think the first line, because there's no crying in wrestling, right?
Right.
So I remember I got on the mic, there was kids there, and I was like, I know there's no crying in wrestling, but fuck that, and I was crying.
But that's dope because, like, especially in wrestling, I mean, you've seen it
It's
countless,
also very macho, and
but the mental health side of it is like, it runs like rampant. Like,
of course.
And you see all these tragedies, and it's like
you try to chase. It comes from trying to chase that high. You know, a lot of wrestlers back in the day trying to chase that high from the moment, the crowd. You know, and then there's a lot of steroid or drug abuse in the past. So I'm sure. I mean, I only speak from what I've listened to. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I'm sure it was crazy back then. You know, so at least these discussions are happening where we could talk about like mental health. Where back then it was just dismissed.
Yeah,
you know?
And a lot of people either they would die or they would stay wrestling forever, but then they kind of fall off where they were once, and then that's already a battle of like, damn, I used to be this, now I'm here.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have nothing outside of wrestling. Like,
of course, no, I'm sure it's a struggle. It's a struggle, but it's okay to not be okay, and we can talk about it. There's resources out there. We can all help each other. But again, I always say that, and I'm not a professional, a mental health professional at all. I just speak from whatever experience I may have, or with my brother, or what I see. So I don't mean to say like what I've been saying about mental health and make it seem like, oh, like it's easy. Like sometimes it's not easy. No. Sometimes like the people that we don't even know, the people with like a smile on their face all the time, are the people that are battling the most, and it's not as easy for them to come out and shit like that. You know. But I think the message we need to get across is like, yo, like, we're in this together because we're all going through something. I think we need to make it okay that we could talk about it. And, yo, you're going through something, let's talk about it. As opposed to people feeling alone that, damn, I'm the only one that's dealing with this, you know, and I can't talk to people about it. It's like, yo, like, we can all talk about it together.
Yeah, for sure. And especially when you're older, it's like, now I love talking about this shit all the time with anyone. Of course. Like, it makes you feel better. But have you ever had to, like, right before a match, you have like some sort of anxiety, or like your mind is like, oh shit.
I think in my last match, I had anxiety. I had a lot. Actually, I told Junior right there again. I always shout out Junior behind the camera. Oh, it's like the third time I do it. I think he was at the last show at Rumble in the Jungle, and we're filming another project. And I remember looking at him and telling him, like, yo, I feel a lot of anxiety. Today is the most anxiety I've felt in a while. A lot of different factors that go into it, but I think it's just recognizing it, taking a deep breath. I forget to breathe. I forget to breathe, and something like if I have a friend or something that's going through something, like I always try to say like, take a deep breath. But then I break it down, because how many times have you heard somebody like, oh, just take a deep breath?
Yeah.
You just like, oh, take a deep breath. It's become like a cliche, but it's like, no, like it's proven that bringing in oxygen, focus on your breath and bringing that oxygen, it's gonna help you, because the oxygen helps reduce the stress.
Right.
So I try to break it down to like my friends. So I try to practice what I preach, which I don't.
Yeah.
So I think at that moment I had to like just step back and actually.
That's funny. Junior was just saying that yesterday. Literally.
Really? Yeah. By the way, the reason I took that breath right now was because I was too acelerado and I needed to ground myself.
Simple, but it works.
It works. And dude, something that helps me too. It's again these little things. Putting like our hands are energy sources, right? Like anything that I'm putting my fingertips towards is transferring energy, you know? So I try to let that energy, I connect my fingertips, and let that energy transfer through my body. Whether you believe it or not, cool. You don't have to believe in it. But I think just having the faith and the belief that you actually believe that's happening is what's going to help you process that and actually help calm you down. If you focus on you believing that your energy is transferring through your fingertips and taking your deep breath, well, it'll help for 5 minutes until you need to take a deep breath again, you know? Just some loqueras, I guess, that I go through.
Have you ever had a moment in the ring where you almost feel like out of your element, or like, yo, what the fuck am I doing here? Like almost a blackout?
So I feel like, I'm sure I have, but being a Gemini, I've learned that I can adapt to like, I'm good at adapting to any situation.
Same.
Yeah, you're Gemini as well? Yeah, so I can adapt to, dude, you put me in, I don't know, in a car accident, something just happened, and you could put me in a party right after, and I can adapt and be the person I need to be at the situation. Like I can adapt.
That's crazy, because sometimes, even this probably sounds fucked up, but like I think of like fucked up situations, and I'm like, you know, I probably would do this or that, or like, how would I react? Like I'm picturing me, and I have dreams of me in a car accident. And I'm like, all right, but once the car flips, I'm gonna put my right hand here.
Vamos a hablar de otra cosa, bro.
But or like even sometimes I'm in like some sort of environment where I'm like, it's kind of sketchy, and I'm already like, all right, this guy comes.
You start adapting,
and then like 5 minutes pass, and then you see the guy's like with his daughter, and it was like, and I'm like, bro, I made a whole narrative in my head.
But yeah, I think I adapt when I'm in there, when I'm in the ring, I go. It's go time. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you don't
got
have time either.
Yeah, you have to go. But I think what gets me, where my anxiety stems from a lot, and the actual term anxiety stems from, the reason we all get anxiety is from, it's the fear of the unknown, right? So a lot of my anxiety is leading up to the moment, because sometimes I don't know what to expect, you know? So it's the fear of the unknown, of not knowing what's going to actually happen, and then just wanting the moment to happen already.
Yeah.
Is where a lot of, I guess, my anxiety like comes
But that's
from.
like natural.
But that's
anxiety.
natural. That's everybody. It's what
like
we all
excitement.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do get anxiety. I get excited. I get hype. I get a little bit of everything. Vomito, me tomo un cafecito, or whatever.
But I mean, once you're in the ring, it's almost like you have no time to think. So it's like a little bit of therapy, I can imagine. Like,
yeah.
It's very therapeutic.
Even at training, like being at training has also become very therapeutic as well. It's like a release. There's times, again, I get the Sunday scaries and the Monday blues.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't want to like do certain things. And then I go to training and I'll have anxiety the whole day, and I'll go to training. I'm like, damn, like, thank God I came.
Yeah.
You know, like, thank God. And actually, it's usually the routine now that I'm thinking about it, because it is Monday. But it's usually the same routine. And then once Tuesday comes around, that's when I'm actually like, my brain mentally is recalibrating and I start like feeling all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually takes the training, like that therapy. Tuesday comes, and then, yeah, I wake up in a better space on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I feel like I experienced the same thing with jiu-jitsu. Like, I'll go, and then like a couple of days will pass, and then like, you know, life, work, this, that, and I'm like, fuck, I really don't feel like going, but I know I'm gonna feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you go, and it's like you're so plugged in, and you can't. There's no other distractions, and you don't have time to be thinking about nothing, because there's like something in front of you happening. And
well, you have somebody else's life in your hands too. Like in wrestling, we try to protect each other. Where you have somebody's life in your hands,
That's a lot of pressure,
like
shit.
You have your own life and somebody else's. So yeah, it's like you got to focus on the moment now. There was actually one match that very early on that I was not in the right. Like I just was not. My opponent knows it. We've talked about it. I was just not good. It's the only time I've ever thrown up before a match.
Wow.
And that, like casualidad, was the match that I was not in the right mind frame for, and it was a disaster. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing out there. But you could just tell. You could just tell, and it was bad. And I look back at that moment a lot, because actually that night, again, talking about like crying and this and that, like, yo, it's okay to cry. I cried my whole drive back home. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I almost just killed somebody. Like, I feel like shit. Like, I don't want to be here.
It's almost worse than hurting yourself.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, he dropped him on his neck. It was terrible. It was bad. Sorry, Meadow. My bad. He's okay now. He's actually our world champion. But yeah, that whole drive back was, I remember, but it was actually listening to, it's funny enough, because my opponent at the time, him and Gangrel, they both gave me the same advice. And then actually I had the privilege of meeting Seth Rollins. He came by the bar once, and I asked him for a piece of advice, and he gave me the same advice as well. And all three of them said, like, in wrestling, you're going to hit a moment that you're going to hit a wall. And you're not going to want to do this anymore. And you're really going to think about quitting. Once you get to that wall, that's the moment you have to push through and keep it going. And you'll see things starting to change. So I remember on that drive thinking about it. And funny enough, my opponent was the one that gave me that advice as well. And I was like, man, let me just push through. And then, yeah, everything changed. After that, everything changed. And then I started on the come up, on the rise, I guess, of Domino. The domino effect, if you will, took place. And yeah, but there was a moment there where, yeah, I was not happy. I was in a funk.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like you see people once they're like, you know, have a certain level of success, and you forget, like, bro, they probably had like a million of those moments.
Oh, yeah.
They were like, fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm like a big fan of Kevin Hart, because he's been at this game so long, and like I remember seeing him in like bullshit movies or stand-up comedy, but you see him now and he's like household name.
Yeah.
But that dude was like grinding for nothing.
Yeah.
And because he talks about it a lot, like just like, fuck, I'm gonna keep pushing through because I see the bigger vision.
Of course. I always think that, and it's a phrase that I always keep in the back of my mind, and I like to remind myself, is I feel like through hardship comes growth. Like, you need to go through the toughest of moments or times to be able to grow to this ultimate like idea or goal that you want to accomplish, you know, because you see what it takes. Like, you were at the very bottom and you know the work that it takes to have to like try to push through, right, to come out of it. So I always like to say that, yeah, through hardship comes growth. yeah, and it's typical, right? You're very low, and then you come out of it, and you feel like you can conquer anything. Like, all right, nothing's gonna stop me. You know,
Nah, wrestling is hard as fuck. So like,
it's hard. It's
getting through that. Like, I'm sure you like, yeah, you could take on anything.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I feel like that yet, but
But I mean, like the act of wrestling,
No,
like
but
even
yeah.
just getting through one match,
yo
like
tengo,
even just
lo que
saying
tú no
you did-
sabes que tengo un tremendo dolor de cuello right now.
Hey, but you showed up, man. So do you have like any inspiration outside of wrestling that maybe you take with you into the ring or use?
Man, I always like what I will say is, I mean, Razor Ramon is obviously like an inspiration, right? But I feel like my inspiration comes from, and again, it goes back to the very early days, like how we even started like talking about when I started tapping into like this creative side of myself. And it was more from a mental perspective of like inspiration to do things. And there's two people, because I remember two interviews I saw and I watched them and they didn't care what anybody told them and thought they were weird or whatever. And they pursued it, and I love their art. It's Childish Gambino and Tyler, the Creator. Those are two individuals that I would watch their interviews. And I remember, again, this is over a decade ago, seeing that and being like, that was the inspiration to keep moving and to be like, okay, I can just do whatever. Yeah, I picked up a camera. People may not like my pictures, but I'm doing it, you know, because they inspired me. Like, it was those two artists that actually like really motivated me to like, all right, let me be a weirdo, creative artist, whatever. So I feel like that's like who I really owe, I guess, like this tapping into the start of this creativity, like creative side to me, is those two artists. And yeah, I love them. I love them
I was
both.
actually just reading, like I guess notes that Donald Glover wrote to himself, and he
Really?
had posted them, and he was saying how he felt at the time. Like, I guess people, I'm sure you used to watch that show, Community.
Yeah. Well, not as much, but yeah, I was familiar with it.
Yeah.
I started watching it because knowing it was him after the
Right,
fact.
but he was super dope in that, and like that show was like super underrated at the time. But he had left whatever to start pursuing these things, and he was writing how like, I didn't leave Community to become a rapper. I left Community to like be on my own and do my own thing.
Yeah.
Because he was like facing like, he was a stand-up and he was like this dorky guy.
Yeah.
But like he really wanted to do all this different stuff.
Yeah, he wrote to talk about Renaissance Man, like we were talking about. Like, he's a Renaissance man. He was a writer he was an actor for Community. He wrote for 30 Rock, which is a great show. He was a rapper, was a stand-up comedian, and then now with the show Atlanta, he created that. And so yeah, like I guess, I don't know, I've always looked up to that. And then seeing Tyler, the Creator, always just say like, man, fuck if people think if you're weird or whatever, just do whatever you want. Like, that stroke accorded me at the time where I was needing something like that.
Yeah.
And it all just aligned like beautifully. So yeah, I guess my inspiration more is the attitude behind like, just do it, you know? And it was them two. It was really them two. And then going into like my matches and stuff is just, the inspiration now is more just, and especially creatively when I'm trying to put out content, whatever, is the inspiration is as long as it's organic and true to you. You know, if the intent is organic and authentic, cool, pa'lante. And that's always what I try to, before I release anything, I was like, is this organic? Is this something that would come off as authentic? And that's like really the inspiration, is making sure that it's all organic and genuine and authentic.
Gotta be you.
Yeah, it can be, because people can read through all that.
Yeah.
You can see through somebody's energy or whatnot. So I just want to give people the organic version of what I'm trying to portray, you know?
I love that. Is there anyone like a dream match you would wrestle, like past or present?
Hey, Razor Ramon.
I could see
The
that.
Battle of Cuichi. Bueno, the Battle of El Cuichi y alguien que se hizo El Cuichi. Yeah, it was like finding out Santa wasn't real, you know? Like, wait, Razor Ramon, el tipo no es cubano. I mean, Shawn Michaels was my favorite growing up. So of course, just being able, I know he's active still, obviously works for WWE, he's down there in NXT, just being able to meet some of these guys, you know, that I grew up watching, and just shaking their hand and having that energy transfer would mean the world. Like, I just met Rikishi last week.
Wow.
Was able to chat with him for a bit.
Rikishi.
Yeah. And then Gangrel. Gangrel is somebody that I grew up watching, you know?
Yeah.
He would always like spit the blood and stuff, and I would spit like a big jupiña and Materba, you know, bed. And so yeah, just having those interactions, like, that's inspiring in itself, because it's like, damn, I'm learning. Like, again, for me, it's always like I want to shake your hand, say thank you, and I want that energy transfer and like that respect transfer. Like, yo, thank you, you know. Because I'd admire these guys. I grew up watching, you know, these guys. And so having somebody like Gangrel on my side and training me and learning and teaching me his ways. And that's an inspiration and motivation every day for sure.
That's amazing. That's crazy. Like you're even in that world where like, you know, you're eventually gonna meet these guys. Or you're gonna be in these circles.
We're colleagues. Essentially,
like,
we're colleagues. Yeah, you know, it's crazy.
That's insane to say.
It is. And it's something I never thought. You know.
Well, I'll leave you with this last question. What does creativity mean to you?
Oh man, I think it's the expression of your soul. Wow. I think it is creativity. I feel like you could tell who somebody is and their inner essence and soul and spirit through creativity. So like, again, for me, it's putting myself in a very vulnerable, like sometimes I'll post something and it's like cryptic or whatever, but it's like, it means so much to me. Like it's actually, I feel at my most vulnerable because I'm putting some weird ass shit, you know, so, oh, this guy just posted a picture of the waves crashing along the shore. But what they don't know is that it's me trying to give a message of like, I don't know, like there's abundance in the sea and there's abundance. And that's the message I'm trying to create. Like pursue abundance, whatever, you know, like, so yeah, creativity to me means the expression of the soul, I guess. Damn, I think I may get that tattooed or something.
It might be a new tagline. Dude. But dude, I love that because like,
what does it mean to you?
I mean, it's that, dude. It's like it's breathing. It's actually no one's ever asked me. This is my show, and I always ask everyone. But so thank you for asking. Yeah. But nah, dude, it's literally the truest expression of everything, man. Like, and I always tell people, everyone's creative. They just might not know it, but like the ability to create is like, I feel like what we're put on earth to do, whether it's in different, like, you know, a mother creating a child with their husband, or a business, or a character for wrestling. Like we need that expression,
outlet. Yeah.
But it's funny, like you were saying, like posting a picture of waves or whatever, because I'm the same way, dude. Like even like I'll just post random carousel pictures, but like you have intent behind the way I align them and the song I put and everything is like a fucking Christopher Nolan movie.
Yes, which by the way, my favorite director, Interstellar, favorite movie of all time. Wow. Yes. Look, this tattoo, mira, el tatuaje, no sé si lo veo, but this tattoo right here.
I've seen it like 18 times,
dude. That's my favorite. My dog is named Cooper, and then look, I have the. I'm going up to the camera. Cooper, Interstellar, ahí, the trunk, right? The grids, I told you, the synthwave stuff.
Crazy, dude. Yeah. But like in that movie, everything has a purpose. Like the ticks on the time, on the score,
the relativity
is the relative to the time that's passing in Cooper's planet, like all that shit. So like, even though like I'm just posting a picture of my daughter or a dog or whatever, to me, I'm like, nah, this is
telling a story.
Like, dude, it's like on the grid like this, because when you swipe left, it looks like this. And like, I'm like, for me, I'm like, yo, I made a masterpiece.
Hell yeah.
But everyone else is like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah, nobody knows. But that's part of the mystique behind it, right? Yeah. Where like, you know, you're trying to give a message.
Yeah, and
it helps. It's therapeutic in itself.
Bro, it's a form of creativity. Like, yo, I want this thing to come out a certain way because like that's how it was in my brain. And now it's out there. Whether someone interprets it like that or not, that's not my problem.
Yeah,
but I like
this is me.
Saw it, so like it's just like that's what it goes back to. Like creativity is just like putting something out there and like, all right, now someone else has the power to interpret it however they want.
I do want to say about Interstellar. What I love. Here we go. Part 2 starts right now. What I love about it, obviously, you know, I'm into like the multiverse and Einstein's theory of relativity, all of that. All of that is things that I enjoy, string theory, everything. But like, I'm a firm believer that, and again, it's about being vulnerable, right? Like love is the key to life, right? Like love, I think, is what conquers all. Like love is what connects us all. And you can have love for pizza, love for your partner, love for that ice cream that we just had right before, like just love in general, right? So what I loved about that movie is that it shows based off the, if you haven't watched it now, it's been over a decade, so spoiler alert, se jodieron. Is that love ended up being what opened up the fifth dimension, you know, and tapped into this ability to take, you know, go into this other planet or whatnot. Like it was the key. Love was the key all along. If they would have just stuck with Anne Hathaway's intuition, right, that she was pursuing, trying to find love in the partner that ended up going to the other planet, like she was right all along, and it was the draw, it was the magnetic pull was love all along, and then it was Cooper that like, no, but we should check here, it's not habitable, and whatever, and then and then the love for his daughter, and like if he didn't
have his daughter, like they would have failed.
God, love is so beautiful.
Like, I don't know how we got there, but I'm glad we did. So I could talk about Interstellar for like another podcast. I could do a whole podcast on just Interstellar.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Interstellar is great.
Nah, the best. But yo, thank you for coming through. I really appreciate the combo.
Yeah.
Make sure you plug in anything you got going on, everything you got going on.
Oh man. Okay, so mira, tengo at Domino CCW on Instagram. Tengo at Adrian C31_ for my personal, and you get my weird cryptic, subliminal, artistic
I gotta
posts.
follow that one.
We got at CCW Alive TV. If you want to check anything going down with CCW, any of the shows we got going on, stay tuned or at _Panolos_ if you all want the best Pango Bite in Miami. And just stay tuned on something that's coming very soon in the community of Miami that I think is something that's actually a hub for creatives, and something the community is longing for and in need of. I can't disclose what it is yet, but stay tuned because that's coming very soon. So
thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yo.
Better. Oh yeah.